BIP of Bizarre Interest Productions, and with Asian American Heritage Month coming to an end, a question that has been in toku for a while has there ever been an Asian Red Power Ranger? Well, the answer is yes, and no, and both. Okay, look, part of the reason this video is coming so late in the month is because it's a trippy topic that requires a bit more nuance than the average YouTuber or tokutuber has time to dig into, so that's why I'm talking about it. Now, we've had Asian Rangers before in almost every color and role. Trini was the first Yellow Ranger, and her daughter Min took her mantle in Once and Always. Just for the record, people have talked about this numerous times, but it bears repeating. Trini being Asian, as well as Walter Jones being black, was an accident. The original actress for the role was meant to be Latina, hence the fact Becky G played Trini in the 2017 live-action movie, which was kind of a continuity gag. In fact, Audrey Dubois Marchonoyo, the actress and martial artist who played Trini in the pilot, had said she turned down doing the role full-time because she was in Arizona with her job and boyfriend, requested a pay increase, which, in hindsight, completely justified, and was denied, so she quit and walked away. It's something she's regretted, but at the same time, it's only fitting that Austin St. John, Walter Tones, and Toy Trang left the series because of that. Moral of the story, treat your actors and people responsible for bringing your production to life with some respect, unless you'll end up with some of the most questionable and unfair treatment known in production. If you know about the behind-the-scenes drama on every Friday the 13th movie not named 6, Manhattan, Hell, or maybe the reboot, then you know, especially the hypothermia incidents. Also, Ashley Hammond from Turbo in Space has some Filipino descent, but as you'll see, we ended up with a lot of characters who could pass for white. Then we had Adam in playing the Black and Green Ranger, Mighty Morphin, Zeo, and Turbo, and Tripp's actor in Time Force is Filipino. Heck, Zack in the 2017 movie was played by Ludi Lu, and Jake from Megaforce and Super Megaforce actor is Syrian, and Syria is a country in West Asia, for those of you who don't know. There's also Alyssa from Wild Force as the White Ranger, and even earlier, Delphine's actress and the first White Ranger from Alien Rangers, which was Discount Ninja Rangers because Sabran brands are really bad at exploring Asian cultures, with Raja Badori having Lebanese descent. We've also had a few Pink Rangers too. Cassie was the first Pink Ranger for In Space and Turbo, and would have almost been the Galaxy Pink Ranger to replace Valerie Vernum's role, including the fact they had filmed a handoff and having her join the team to replace Valerie Vernum's role, and in the episode that they jokingly called Air Force One on the megaship. But she declined because the pay issues would pay her as not a regular, but a guest. So actress Patricia Jolie left and the episode was scrapped. Then, way later in Samurai, we'll get back to that one soon, we had Erica Fong play Mia Watanabe in Power Ranger Samurai. And yes, we all know her characterization was stripped from Mako without some of the nuances that made Mako complex and appreciated. And then in the Megaforce, Emma was played by Christina Masterson, who has part Filipino descent. Even in SPD, Makoto Nagino played the pink SPDA Squad Ranger, who is Koichi Sakamoto's wife and a stuntwoman. And then we ended up with a whole lot of Blue Rangers with Asian descent. Kai Chen from Lost Galaxy, Chad Lee from Lightspeed Rescue, who we did talk about later, well, yesterday, Lucas Kendall from Time Force, Dex Lowe from the overhated Operation Overdrive, Theo Martin from Jungle Fury, Koda and Preston, both played by the Subarso siblings Yoshi and Peter. Yes, they got two brothers in Power Rangers, and finally with Dino and Cosmic Fury, we got Ollie. Editing mode here also forgot Ravi Shaw from Beast Morphers. Let's not forget because Indians are also Asian people, and it's very annoying how much people forget that. Plus, let's not ignore the Six Rangers. Eric played the Quantum Ranger in Time Force. Then Cam played the Green Samurai Ninja Storm Ranger in Ninja Storm. Trent's actor has Filipino descent in Dino Thunder. Gem and Gemma were the first two-person duo of Six Rangers. And, well, Antonio's character is an Asian, but his actor was Thai, and they made him play a Hispanic character. Whoops. Well, in terms of acting, you got 2 out of 7 Samurai. At least you tried. And then, don't forget Fern and Cosmic Fury, first lesbian Six Ranger, and Orange Ranger, officially. She counts as a Six Ranger, right? She's the last to join the... Wait, that's also debatable. Damn it! So, where's the Asian Red Rangers? Well, that's the funny thing. They technically exist, but also we've barely had any, or they exist basically on technicalities. And no, we're not counting Super Sentai. One's an adaptation of the other. By default, almost all of the Red Rangers are Asian. For example, did you know that Austin St. John has Japanese descent, but also Native American, German, Irish, and Spanish? What about Daniel Southworth, who's part Chinese, Vietnamese, Indian, and played the Quantum Ranger in Time Force? Doesn't he count as a red Asian? Oh, he does, but as Red 6 Ranger, not the lead Red Ranger. Which, fair, Jen is a leader of Time Force, and Eric is an important character. But he's not the lead Ranger you're primarily following for 32 to 50-something episodes. Which is what most people want when they say that. Speaking of which, Shane from Ninja Storm. His late actor, we're not talking about his actors behind the scenes issues. I take domestic violence very seriously, but that's not the time for that. Paul Makasiva is of Samoan descent, which is tied to indigenous Polynesian people, which is in the border between Australia and the United States. So Shane and Paul count as Asian, right? Well, yes and no. Samoa is part of the continent of Asia and Australia, Oceania. And Oceania is considered southeast of Asia and west of Australia. But technically, Polynesia and Samoa are considered descendants of those from Asian cultures and countries. So technically, they should be, but officially, they're not considered Asian. So technically, yes, but officially, no, even though technically they should be. You see why this video is so complicated? There's also Frank Diarni, who played Nick on Mystic Force, the first actor of Lebanese descent to play a Ranger full-time. And yes, Lebanon is located in West Asia, so don't get started there. Technically, he counts too. Heck, for some of the complaints Ninja Steel should have had a Red Ranger that was Asian, well, William Schufelt has Indian, Jordanian, and Filipino descents. And finally, there's Dino Fury's Red Zato, played by Russell Curry, who's half black and Japanese, which is awesome, like Mac's actor being half black and half Filipino. So technically, there's about 5 Red Rangers who you would count as Asian, and you would be incorrect. So why don't they count again? Well, it's complicated. Russell Curry talked about it a lot on Instagram, where he said that growing up mixed, his relationship with his identity was a challenge, to say the least, because a lot of people don't recognize he's Asian and just assume that he's half black, half white. And the fact that he grew up in a predominantly white neighborhood meant there's very few Asian people, so he never felt like he was part of the Asian community. But thanks to his Japanese grandmother playing a role in his life growing up, it helped him connect to his culture, even though he didn't have other people to share with outside of his family. But as thanks for getting involved with an organization to empower Asian American in the arts entertainment, it helped him and them create a community to finally feel accepted as an Asian American, which is great. Hell, he even considers himself the first Red Ranger of Asian heritage. And if that's officially considered, then yeah, we finally do have an Asian Red Ranger that's the lead character. Him having darker skin doesn't take away from that. The only kind of argument is that his character is an alien, but who's to say that there can't be different ethnicities amongst aliens, you know? But Russell also makes valid points onto why some people won't consider him as an Asian Ranger. Colorism is something that affects the black community, but also the Asian community as well. Whenever people talk about Asian people, they usually refer to ones with fair skin, especially given that most of the pop stars, big stars, and K-pop idols are typically light skin, and those are usually from the Far East countries like Japan, China, and the Koreans. Meanwhile, some Asian people from Southeast Asian countries like India, Pakistan, Bangladesh, even some people from Philippines, Malaysia, and Indonesia have darker skin, and for some reason they're considered jungle Asians. And I feel like I don't need to explain why referring to several countries as jungle as an adjective gives off a negative connotation, or one that implies that South and Southeast Asians are inferior to Eastern ones. Heck, Western Asian countries like Lebanon aren't even considered Asian if you look at the actors that I mentioned. But let's talk about samurai. Everyone's kind of criticized the fact that it's mostly non-Japanese group of people led by a white dude with the same last Japanese name as the heir to a samurai clan that uses kanji and Japanese-based calligraphy and powers, and yet the show didn't spend any time trying to justify or writing in a built-in reason, for example, that was planned by Amit Bhamak, a team of international students, or that samurai branched out to other cultures and trained future successors in those environments. Oh, why did they cast a white dude for an entirely Japanese-centered show outside of the fact that they wanted to hire an attractive and charismatic lead? Allegedly, there were allegations that when they started casting in order to get the twist that the true Red Ranger was supposed to be the sister, they casted Lauren first, and since she was white, they decided to make Jaden white. But those claims have either been removed from the internet or have lacking evidence, so I have no way of confirming if that's true or not. But we do know there were a lot of issues behind the scenes. Production only had 6 months instead of the usual full year because Saban brought the franchise back and they were trying to get it out around the time of the usual premiere of early in the next year. The executive producer, Jonathan Zakura, believed that Shinkenger was so good that he wanted to copy episodes note for note, and writer James Bates said himself that he tried injecting more personality and characterization for the scripts, but was vetoed until the last episodes of season 1 since they had to change a lot of things involving the way some of the villains work. So casting just must have been on autopilot instead of just recognizing, yeah, maybe we should have cast an Asian person. Heck, Erica Fong has a Korean mother and a Chinese father, and that's not the actor's fault at all. Wait, I just remember Hyperforce existed, and Peter Siddars, who played the Red Ranger there in Marv. I believe it's canon since it is his appearance, but he doesn't show up on TV as a character. So yeah, talking about live action scripted production appearances, he counts too, but yeah. I do want to say perception shouldn't matter, but there should be East Asian representation for the lead role too. Colorism sucks, but I wouldn't dismiss a black person with dark skin as being the lead or light-skinned black person being the lead. And if we had a Japanese person with dark skin, that should be considered valid too. And I'd like to see more Asian Reds who are any sort of ethnicity for Asian cultures. If they're fair-skinned or dark-skinned, as long as we get them, I think that's important because there's a lot of great Asian and Asian American people out there who have been leaders in all types of fields. Those who fought for labor rights, civil rights, teachers, doctors, and for some growing up, superheroes. But yeah, that's all my thoughts on the subject. Sorry it took me so long until the end of the month after to discuss this, even though I really should have had this out earlier. But yeah, needed all the nuances this deserves. So I hope you all enjoyed or learned something. Comment your thoughts below because this is a very nuanced topic. And BIP Bizarre Interest Productions, signing off.